Hey there, this is Dr. Pam Perry, and welcome to Get Out There, Get Known podcast. Today is so excited because we have another magazine publisher to talk to today. And she published in the 90s, and she's going to give you the backstory about that. But Successful Black Parenting magazine, been following it for years. It's now online. We have Janice with us today that really will talk about, and she's an author and as well as doing all other things. And then her daughter is a supermodel. I mean, she when I tell you, hopefully we have enough time to go through everything today because I love her background. Janice, I want to just tell you just before I bring you up, I really, really love that. And she's got an MBA as well. So she's super smart, super cute, and this is going to be a super show. All right, we'll bring you up right after this.
Welcome to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast. Join Pam Perry, veteran PR strategist, Emmy award-winning producer and publisher of Speakers Magazine, who will show you how to crack the code in getting out there to get known. Each week, she either interviews her media friends, PR colleagues, or she just goes solo, offering you strategies on publicity, publishing, and platform building. So listen up to hear how to get booked on media places and on superstar stages. Now, here's your host, Pam Perry.
All right, Janice, welcome to Get Out There, Get Known podcast.
Well, thank you, Dr. Pam, because that opening was awesome.
I had to bring up my applause. I have applause and all kind of sound effects going on over here. I don't know what's going on, but I'm just excited to have you because one, colleague in the magazine business, and two, I really, really believe in what your magazine stands for. So give us the backstory about how it birthed in the 90s, and then give us the rebirth about the why you brought it back online.
Well, absolutely. Well, in the 90s, I had a business partner at the time, and her name was Marta. She was working with me, and I had to, in my job that I was in, produce culturally responsible, I guess, articles that parents could relate to. And she kept saying, do a magazine. We should do a magazine. She said, you should do a magazine. I said, well, if you do it with me, we're very naive. Do it with me, I'll do it. And so we did some research for about a year, and we ended up quitting our jobs and doing this magazine. It was on the newsstands, 100,000 circulation. We had top advertisers from Fortune 500 companies that I personally went out and solicited in New York City. And, we were doing okay, but we had just enough money to fail. Our advertisers didn't come on board until the last minute. We had to learn all of these different things, lots of learning curves. And so by the time they came on board, I was exhausted. We had been fighting some legal battles of things that were said that weren't true. And it was just exhausting. So the biggest regret of my life was closing it down. So we closed it down for 20 years, and we regretted it every single chance we got together, lamented about it, and decided that almost 20 years later, once Black Lives Matter surfaced, that we should have a presence on the internet. We didn't have a Twitter. We were the first Black parenting magazine ever in this country. We got to be on CNN because of it, USA Today because we were the first. And so I said, well, please let me make a website and some social media so we can claim our fame and see what happens. And it just started taking off from there. And you know what, Dr. Pam, I don't really want to do anything else. This is what I love. Like, I literally love working on this magazine. I always did. I love going out speaking in front of moms and telling them, all the things that I know. And here's the thing about our publication. We don't tell parents how to parent. We give you the suggestions of the best practices. We give you options, and you get to decide if you want to do it or which ones you want to pick to do. Because we all do things in our own way, but we'll let you know what the research says, what our demographics are saying, what science is saying, and what our culture is saying. So we take personal experiences too, and you can weigh on it what you like, what you don't, and take what you want from the publication. So that's our philosophy. We don't tell you what to do, but we let you know what's out there.
I like the fact that it is successful Black parenting, unapologetic about it, because there are cultural differences.
Oh, absolutely.
And the fact where, lack of a better word, you walk your talk. So I want you to brag on your daughter just a little bit because you wrote a book about it.
Right.
Just
I was,
she written 3 books. So 1 book is for parents and 2 are for kids, but one is making a supermodel.
right.
And before we kind of started, we kind of talked a little bit about it. So successful Black parenting. She told me that the whole where she's quote unquote retired at right now. I was like, okay, that is definitely successful Black parenting right there. So give us a backstory about your daughter.
Well,
And the
I have
book
to tell you,
but the book that she wrote is called Making a Supermodel, which is available on Amazon as well
yes,
now.
yes.
Mhm.
And I have to tell you that when I first started the magazine, she was about 9 years old and she started modeling at 12 and
Wow.
really took off at 16. I mean, I say take off. She got to shoot with the top photographer in the world, Stephen Meisel. If anyone
Mhm.
knows fashion, you know that name. She
Mhm.
was shooting for Calvin Klein CK1. She was on the perfume bottle and the commercials, everything. Her first week out, she did New York Fashion Week, some of the top designers. She was the it girl when she hit the runway at 12 years old, right?
Mm,
So,
mm.
and I was right there with her. But I started the book because so many people kept asking me, how did you do it? They would see her on Victoria's Secret's runway shows when they were on television. She was on Oprah when Oprah was, out with
Wow.
her talk show. She was everywhere, like everywhere. If you didn't know her name, you knew her face. She got to shoot with Tyra Banks. She got to shoot with
Mhm.
Naomi Campbell. Matter of fact, she shared the Vogue cover with Naomi Campbell. They had different fold-out covers for 4 different top models. She was one, Naomi was one, Leah Cabetti was another, and Jordan Dunn. And
Oh
so
my
that
God.
was the
I
famous.
probably have that issue.
You got to get it because it's a collector's item now. Because it's the first time Condé Nast sold out of any magazine. It was the Black
Mm,
edition, and it was the
mm.
Italian Vogue, which is one of the Vogue Bibles. Our American
Italy.
Vogue, yeah,
Mhm.
Italy, and then
Wow.
France. So for them to sell out in the United States was a big deal. Yeah, was a big
Yes.
deal. And so, and Cecily has about 30 pages in there.
Oh
She has
my
some
God.
good pages at all, different editorials, different ads, but she's in there about, I counted like 30 times. So
Mm.
that's our special. As a matter of fact, that was
That
her.
sounded like you had to manage her career for
I was
that.
the momager. I was the momager. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
her feast moment when she came back because models don't, their shelf life is short. So that was when she
Mhm.
came back, and that was again thanks to Stephen Meisel who called her his muse.
Mhm.
But yes, no, I managed her. I went with her everywhere. Luckily, we had a great agent. One of the things I would not do is they kept saying, well, she has to come to New York. She has to come to New York. She can stay at the model's apartment. I was like, she's 12. I'm not
Yeah.
giving you my daughter. No.
Right.
And then what I found out later was the chaperones really don't chaperone. So I was glad that I was there.
Yes.
They'll check in, but that's about it. So
Mhm.
that's one thing I tell parents: do not just hand your child over because of the potential that they might have. You need to be there with them. And
Mhm.
there were times I had to fight for her. We had to go to Iceland for a Harper's Bazaar shoot on icebergs in 6-inch Jimmy Choo heels. And at the time back then they wore fur for the shoot. And, you know, I went because it was June. And if you know anything about Iceland in June, it's the time of the midnight sun. The sun never sets, it just goes around in a circle, right?
Hmm.
So that means her being underage, they don't care. They'll just shoot until they get tired because they don't have to wait. And, they're not going to
Right.
stop at the sunset. It's no more light. They're going to keep going. So I made sure that I went with her on that shoot and other shoots. Fashion week times that I had to go. There were times I couldn't go, broke my heart because of work or whatever. I couldn't make it. But
Mhm.
we were always in contact. And she didn't go overseas till she was 16 anyway. But
Okay. Good.
yeah,
Good.
but
Good.
I had to manage her career. When she became 16, she pretty much took it over herself. And then, of course, when they turned 18, it's frowned upon for mom to be there. So,
Right, right. So at this point, the magazine was still going. You were doing successful
yeah.
Black parenting, and people were asking you about how did you do it, and this is kind of like before TikTok, before Vine,
Mhm.
before all the video kind of stuff. I mean, she just basically just was that it girl. And did she ever model in the magazine Successful Black Parenting? It was
She
where did the spark for
did.
her wanting to do that?
Well, no, she was just tall, but in the first issue, which we had no idea what we were doing, we just put something out, the first print issue, she's in there in a story that happens to be about AIDS, because at the time that's what people were talking about. She has nothing to do with AIDS. She never had it, but I needed a kid, and because we were talking about kids that had lost their parents to this disease at the time. And so she's in there kind of walking in an empty lot and playing. And so she was among all my kids modeled for that first issue, I believe. Yeah, every single one of them, because we needed models, so they were. Yeah, she didn't after that, because once she became a model, I actually stopped the magazine. We had just enough money to fail. And we did. And like I said, the advertisers took so long to come on board that just being tired and, I was kind of over it at that point. And then of course we regretted it, like I said earlier. But
And
yes.
one of the things too about just getting advertising, especially for niche publications like Speakers, which is really African American magazines, and then any of them, it could even say Essence and Ebony for that matter, and Successful Black Parenting, because it's a niche publication, they kind of feel like, oh well, we can cover the total market by just buying an ad in this, or you have to just really over deliver in terms of your demographics and justify that you have readership that has loyalty. It's when you're calling on ad agencies, they're looking at numbers. It's like, well, your numbers aren't as big as such and such. What's the
Right.
It will never be as big as such and such, but they are loyal, and you are the first. You were the first one out there doing that. So when you're doing the advertising the way it was done traditionally, a while ago, and then the way it's done now, they call it programmatic advertising because everything is digital. Have you found that there's a switch and that there's really more opportunity maybe to get more money now because of the programmatic advertising, and you could publish again and be on stands?
Well, we definitely need all the support from our audiences and people who are interested, because those numbers definitely matter, like you said. So just being active, liking things on social media, to sharing articles and things like that really
Yes.
helps us with advertisers, and to get them, like I call the big boys out there, like the bigger parenting magazines for general audiences. And but the thing that's different is, like back then, we were able to get $12,000 for a full page ad.
Whoa, that is major. Oh my
So
god.
we get that
Yes.
today digitally, right? So we might get a sponsor post for $60 or maybe $100, $200, depending on what they're doing with it. It depends. So it's we're more so scraping as a digital publication things together. We do have banner advertisements.
Okay.
It's totally different. I totally have a learning curve, because I know the traditional advertising methods, I'm not great with clicks per ads and things like that. So I want to hire someone who's good at that, because I get lost when they start talking about things. I literally have to look everything up. I'm not that good yet,
It's
but
new,
I'm learning.
Janice is new. That's why nobody knows it. It's brand. I mean, it's literally like within the last 5 to 10 years,
It
especially
is.
where I went to a niche media conference about 3 years ago, and they talked about programmatic advertising, and I was like, what is that? And they were like, oh, that's when you have a website and they program the ads, and you go to it's instead of going to an ad agency, media buyer, there are people that buy the other type of ads, like you said, pay per click and this and that. And I'm like, this is a whole thing. So people are buying advertising different based on their preferences. Like if you're online and a certain ad follows you, that's the programmatic advertising, because you click this and then the whole ad follows you all around the internet. And I'm like, oh my God. So someone
Right.
is programming that. That's why they call it programmatic advertising. Someone is programming. I was like, oh my God, this is a whole nother thing. And it's exciting. It's easy. It should be easier enough once we sit, like you said, like once the learning curve is gone, it's easier because you don't have to worry about distribution, having it on the shelves, having, people have to send back magazines if they don't sell, that whole
Right.
thing. And then subscriptions. People were like, "Well, I can't understand why people don't subscribe to the magazines. It's only $10 a year." It's just that people just won't. They just would rather not. It's only 10, but it's a
We
Gospel
didn't have
Today
an issue
magazine.
with that.
Yeah.
We were blessed, because before we even had a publication out, we were on CNN. And when people heard this was coming, because it was nothing like it, and we told them what it would cost, because we were projecting this is what it would cost, and they found out where we were, and checks started coming to our PO box. Okay, now
Wow.
you got to remember, this was before anything like social media, anything. We were on
Mhm.
AOL. that it was still doing dial-up broadband.
Right, right, in
You
the
hit
90s, yes, yes.
like I could load a website, go get a sandwich, come back, and it might have finished loading. Like it was that slow. So
Right.
there was no chance of us having a website at that point. We were just in print. Okay. So that's where we were in the
Oh
90s.
my god. That was, the first magazine that I wrote for was a Gospel Today magazine, and I love Dr. Teresa Hairston. It's African American gospel magazine, and she would go around to churches and speak, and people would love the magazine, wanna be in the magazine, but to subscribe to the magazine, that was the issue. She would go to churches literally and say, "Hey, subscription is $20 a year, whatever," and people would just be slow about getting it. Wasn't the money, I don't know what that was, and she says, "You would think that we would have so many thousands that would pay $20 a year, and we would but it would be like, I'd rather just get it on the newsstand or whatever." That's why I always subscribe to magazines, like I subscribe to Essence to get in the mail. You get it first, but it's a whole different mentality because we're magazine owners, but most people prefer to just go to the airport or go to the drugstore and buy the magazine.
It's so difficult to get into airports too as a print publication or even a book. The
Mhm.
shelving is so limited, they will only pick the
Yeah.
top and best. So yeah,
Yes,
it's
yes.
difficult.
That's why I can't find Black Enterprise when I go to the airport. I
Oh,
can't find it
wow.
on the shelves. And I used to always could find it. Uh, you know, really Barnes& and Nobles is now where I kinda get some of the magazines if I just wanna pick them up and just see who's on the shelf. Like you said, it's like, okay, they only picked the top one, so let me figure out what that is. But let's talk a little bit about people writing for your publication and what kind of things you look for, because now that you're online, we don't have to worry about space. So
Right.
there's unlimited space. So how do people get access to successful Black parenting if they want to write for you? They are have a, you know, if they want to write because they have a successful Black kid and they said, well, this is what I did, or that kind of thing. Or what are you looking for? Are you looking for journalists to do more research type stories? What are you looking for?
Well, we like our stories to be backed by either some sort of research, demographics, cultural experiences, and we love for parents to write for us because then we'll edit it. You don't have to be the best writer. We'll take what you send us and we'll make it really good.
Mhm.
But what I ask them to do is we have writers guidelines we can send to you. You just have to let us know what it is you're interested in writing about. I like unique types of stories that haven't been done before. Or, for instance, I have a woman who wrote to me saying, "Hey, we're going to be doing behind the scenes of Disney World for this cultural type program that they're offering me and my children." Or actually, it's her nieces. And she said, "Would you be interested? I'm a writer. I want to write about it. And I can send you photos of us behind the scenes at this particular event."
I
And
love it. Yes.
that's a feature. So we're going to feature her on story in June. And the topic is about her teen nieces being content creators, right?
Mm.
Black content creators, and especially for this program for Disney, which is specifically focused on brown and Black people. So I love that. I said, that's different. Hasn't been done before, quite like
Mhm.
that. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm looking for, not necessarily Disney anymore, because now it's been done. But if you are doing something unique that you think the world should know about it, or you're experiencing something unique, we've done more stories, I think, lately on autism because it's
Yes.
becoming a huge demographic,
It
right?
is.
And so many people are, I think it jumped 178% over a few years. And so we know that this is something that parents are having problems with finding different programs for their children, especially if it's some behavioral types of problems and challenges with the child, because sometimes, there are certain triggers that
Mhm.
they can't be in a classroom with children who do not have any kind of disability. So those kind of things I want to hear from our parents and their personal
Mhm.
stories, because
Yeah.
we get the facts, but we want to hear from you.
That is. And that reminds me too, I have a, interview later today, with Esther Dillard, and her son is autistic. So
Mhm.
younger children, it's different really dealing with it then, but when they become young adults, she just wrote a book called, I wanna say something the fact like Raising Young Adult males with autism or something like that because it's different. They have to work, they have to get a job. It's a whole nother. They're still living at home, but they are adult, and it's just depending on the spectrum of what autism they are. They may not get hired. People are discriminated. It's just a whole nother thing,
It
and
is.
so that may be something where it's different because I never thought about that because I always read about the stories of when your child is first diagnosed and then elementary school autism of how to deal with it. But like what happens when they get older?
Exactly. And we're going to have a huge population of people who are
How do they get
adults with
accepted to
autism.
college?
Right. And then how do we manage this? Like, are they going to have programs for them continuously?
Yeah.
Are we going to have some sort of laws that say they can't discriminate against them? Are businesses going to have to adapt? Yes, absolutely they are.
Yeah.
Because
That's
this
the
is
part
a
that's
large population of people. Now, are they
yeah.
going to be out of work? They can't be out of work because then that's also a drain on society. So
Mhm.
let's start thinking about these things, government, so we can prepare for this population that's going to need some assistance.
That is so true. So give me a little bit of your background. So in terms of cities, so it seems like you were in Atlanta. Were you once in Chicago, Philly?
No, not Chicago, not yet.
Okay, so you
Trying to
went
get
to
you where it's cold. I'm
West.
trying to get away from cold weather.
So it was West, East, or
Okay.
Midwest. Okay, so give
I
me
have
the
moved a lot. I tend to gravitate toward family and to help them whenever necessary. So right now we are
yeah.
based in Atlanta, Georgia, which I
Okay.
think we should have been here a long time ago. Like this should have been our base from day one. But we started in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, West Philadelphia, born and raised. That's where our magazine took off from.
Okay.
I moved out to LA, so I was in LA for a little while, but now
Okay.
we're down here in Atlanta, and we're probably going to be here for a good while.
Okay, that sounds really good because I knew that you were on the East Coast and then you went to the West Coast and now you're kind of like in the South. So that's really good. Atlanta is a great spot for everything, good weather. So you're kind of like not in that whole Midwest area, that kind of thing, Michigan and Chicago. You're not trying to get to Chicago. That's too cold. And so tell us about you were a teacher.
Yes.
Okay. You taught
I've
elementary
taught
or
all ages. I've had my own daycare centers before I started the publication.
oh my God.
Yeah, and then it's called the Fun Factory Daycare Center in West Philadelphia. So I know some of my alumni always hit me up on Facebook. They're all grown up now. Um,
That's cute.
did that. I got to. I was school age child care coordinator at a Catholic school, so I taught after school school age kids, as well as I taught television production at the high school level, two different high schools in Florida, and college at Hofstra University. I taught in the media studies department. So I've been for every age. Also, director of a YMCA with a 273 capacity childcare center, not including summer camp, and I was in charge of that, which was a NACE accredited
Okay.
um,
And
childcare.
then in between that, you get an MBA. It's like,
Yeah,
okay, well,
well, I was at the YMCA too, so yes.
we are doing the most. I call it DTM. We're doing the most. That is good. But it's always been because it's your passion and your purpose. So the mission really, and I want to read this because this is very similar to most of us. It says it was it's a national magazine, but really it's not about skin color, you said. It's about the cultural differences. And we recognize the importance of Black children international seeing themselves on the covers and in the pages of magazines to empower them. That's really the main thing towards successful future and to create a social impact while reducing inequalities. It says successful Black parenting covers breaking news, topics of new research, which is one of the things, statistics,
Mhm.
demographics pertinent to the Black family. And so if I were to take that and say for any magazine, whether it was Essence, is that we know that when people see themselves in print and in movies or wherever they see themselves in media, they do feel better about themselves. They see the future. They can really project themselves by seeing that. And the same thing with Speakers Magazine. We have Speakers Magazine when a speaker sees themselves on the cover, and that's really why I created it, is that a lot of times speakers would not see themselves in the publications. They would
Absolutely.
always be not like they don't exist. And that was always just, being a publicist, it was always a problem for me because it was like I would pitch and pitch and they would never pick them up. And so I said, well, you know what? we'll just create our own. And it's a way where other speakers can be inspired, not just seeing the same speakers over and over again in general market, but just see themselves and say, hey, this is an industry for me. The same thing with kids seeing themselves in the magazine,
It's
like
so
Successful Black Parenting. That is so, so true. I love that. The
true.
thing that I want people to do when they go to Successful Black Parenting magazine, they can subscribe. And do you do like a newsletter, or are you delivering the entire
Actually,
magazine?
right now it's free. We're going to start some parenting types of webinars and things like that. And some may have a small fee depending on cost involved for us, but they'll be able to download those as paper download types of things, depending on all the work that we put into it. But we're going to start with some free webinars. It's totally free. You don't have to subscribe right now.
Mhm, mhm.
Eventually, it may be paywall for some other types of things that
Yeah,
we're doing. But right now, it's totally free. You can go there. You can see what we did recently on the front page of our website. You can search for topics. If you don't see a topic there that you want to know about, all you have to do is contact us and let us know, hey, are you going to be doing anything on this? And we'll make sure we put it on our schedule to do, because we want to stay unique. Now, I just want to say something, because you mentioned, when we started, that's why we started, because there was no, like, the basic parenting magazines, I won't say any names, but there weren't hardly any. I think out of 60 covers, we counted one a Black child on the front cover, and it was questionable, what their race was. And inside, they never talk about like our hair and how to do it, or
mhm.
skin issues with like anything from sunscreen, anything. There was nothing there. But now there's one publication that I wrote to for strategic partnership. And I gave them a couple ideas, not many, but they took those ideas and ran with it without us. And so I want to talk about stealing content creators' work
Mhm,
because we've
mhm.
been around a long time, and I don't understand, businesses that do that, because we would really appreciate it if you would just say, hey, bring her onto the
Yeah,
board. But
that's
they
what
were going to start a whole brand with basically part of our name of our company, and a whole separate brand from their main publication. And we had to get our lawyers involved. And now I see recently that they changed the name, but they're
mm,
still there. And they have
mm.
a section now that's a whole brand. And I won't mention who it is, but I'm like, all you had to do was pull me in. Those two ideas were the tip of the iceberg. I am full of ideas. Like I know I
Right.
have money. I would have loved to have worked with a bigger publication, but instead they just kind of steal the idea and take it from you and run with it. And I'm like, this is the first time I experienced this, though. I'm like, it's just nuts that instead of working with us people like who are struggling or
Doing it.
trying to make it and have been doing it all of these years, to say, hey, I know you know your stuff. Let's bring her on board so we can make sure this is successful. But no,
Mhm.
no, so I want people to be aware when you start something, it is difficult to
Protect
get a
it.
strategic alliance. I protected it as I have a trademark, and that's what my lawyers were able to jump on because it's too close
Oh,
to my trademark. But
good.
still, all it did
That's why they
was
changed the name.
make them change their name. They're still doing it. So you need to question if suddenly a general type of business is suddenly doing things for Black people, right? Find out
Mhm,
who's
mhm,
behind that, because
mhm.
that right there, you got to worry about who has the narrative for our culture. Because
Yes,
if
yes,
they have control over the narrative, they have control over us.
right.
So keep that in mind.
That is one reason why I'm in media to this day, really is because it is for us to control our narrative. And
Mhm,
I always say that if we can't create it, if there's no opportunity for us at the table, then we create our own table.
mhm,
And the thing too that I want to say that is if we do what we do because it's part of our purpose, part of our mission, it's what we live, it's what we believe in. And so someone else does it because they see a market. It will
yes.
probably not be successful because it is a market, because at this point it's just a market, and then they'll just switch and do something else in a few years, or they'll do something else when they feel like it's too tough or too hard. But then when
Mhm,
it's mission driven, you're doing it because it's purpose driven, and you'll find a way, or God will just allow ways for it to open up, and that kind of thing for you to think. Because even when I started Speakers Magazine 7 years ago, I didn't know what I was doing. I just
mhm,
knew what I wanted to see, and then I have a different business model because we're kinda like sponsored posts type of thing, and so
mhm.
it just was a way for us to do it. Now, we tried advertising at the beginning. Again, this was like 2000, this was like 7 years ago. So
Mhm.
digital was a little bit different. So I'm trying to take an old way to do a magazine selling ads when we were starting and we had 0 numbers. So online was a way where we built, the Facebook page, the Instagram, the YouTube, and that's how it kind of started growing from there, the online part, and then really just understanding the other part of just like this is part of um, what I see as a publicist, what I want people to embed their speaker reels and that kind of thing. And it's like almost like a speaker's bureau, but
I
it's a
see.
magazine. So we send it out to media. So if they're ever looking for subject matter experts. So it is one of those things when I see people that steal other people's ideas, basically, it's like, you know what? It's a lot of ideas around here. You could collaborate, which you could grow bigger versus I believe in karma versus like stealing an idea where it's like it's not going to go anywhere. It's kind of like that thing in Color Purposes. Everything you did to me already been done to you. It's
Um,
like,
that part. Because you
it's
know what?
like
It's ridiculous. I mean, I have the emails to show that I wrote to them. I wrote to like the head people and I said I want to do a strategic partnership. How
mm,
difficult would it have been to bring me in, pay me, and let me advise and be the advisor? You know what I
yeah,
mean?
it's
I
kind of like
that's so
yeah.
easy to do. What do you think I'm going to do? I say no.
Yeah, yeah. That is so funny because I look at people were in a way kind of criticizing Carol's daughter when she did Carol's daughter and she um had her own product and she started her kitchen table and this and that. And then L'Oreal said, hey, we like to do a partnership, we like to buy whatever it was. What she was criticized. And I'm thinking like, but you have no idea what shoes she walked in all those years. Maybe she had to mortgage her house. Maybe, at this point
Right.
you're tired. Nobody came
Right.
to her rescue to give her millions of dollars to continue because she's still involved in it. She's
Which is
just
important.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of things that I kind of look at and say, but with having a master's degree in business, it's kind of like sometimes things you look at it and it's like, okay, well, weighing the pros and the cons financially, what makes sense. And so with Carol, it was like, hey, they're going to work with me. I'm going to still be involved. It still has my Carol's daughter, name. It's just owned by someone else that is taking all the risk now.
Right. And I've had lots of people approach me, different business acquisition type firms to buy my publication. I said, no, this is my life. This is my mission. It's more personal to me than that, right? This is what I live for. So I'm
Mm.
like, if I sell this magazine, you got to, first of all, give me enough that I can retire for the rest of my life. And I know they're not going to give me that. So I'm like,
And you would
I
probably
and
start a little mini version of it, right? Like a
right,
little
and
jet.
I still want to be involved because of the narrative what I spoke
Right.
about earlier. I want to make sure the narrative is correct and that someone's not trying to manipulate us or manipulate the message. That's not
Mhm.
what I can't let that happen. So
Mhm.
I've turned down every single offer over the years, every single one. And I put so much money, personal money into this magazine. And now it's just starting to really pay off again. Because, I have to tell you, I had to work even full time while I did this. That's why you said, you don't know what people had to do
Sacrifices.
until you
Mhm.
walk in their shoes. So I always worked full time. And I said, I just got to keep this alive until I can work on it full time. And I'm working on it full time. And I love it. This is just what I prayed for God for. I said, I want to be able to do this full time. And here I am.
Mhm. And I love, it's so classy. I love your YouTube
Thank
channel
you.
as well. You do a lot of different things on here. I see some of the programmatic ads that are up there that are coming on there. I have Hallmark CVS on there as one of the ones. So that's kind of like it's working whether you know it or not, but it's like it is targeting me on your site.
Yes, yes, it is. And we are working with a group called She Media Group, and they've been excellent with helping me with that because I said I know nothing about digital
'Cause
media, and if it weren't
it's
for them,
coming.
I don't know, we would not have that because they are fantastic with their assistance.
And people can go to successfulblackparenting.com if they want to be in front. And I always tell people, I said advertising is something that you can do as a partnership with any of the
Mhm.
publications that you love. So many times people say, I want to be in it, I want to be in it. I said, look, one way where you can guarantee that you're in it is to advertise in it. And
Right.
you can even work with them in terms of like probably making it um some of the things that they want to talk about, working with the editorial part of that. I know sometimes you're supposed to keep editorial and advertising
Mhm.
separate, but if it's something that, that you feel that you can work with them, then you can actually do that. So I'm on like the advertising tab right now. And your brand, has been, like you said, it's been on CNN, the Philadelphia Inquirer, the Early Show, USA Today, in essence. And it's one of those things where you want to be a part of it if that is really your niche. So say for instance, I don't know, a family therapist or something like that, primarily for African Americans. I would like to know that I'm in Successful Black Parenting magazine, right? Because you
Yeah.
know that that will be your target audience. So
Mhm.
those are the kind of things I always tell people. I says, people are so caught up of always wanting to be on the cover, get on the cover. I was like, just get in there at the start, at least advertise. How about that? We could
I
start
love
with
that. Thank you
that.
for this. You know, for a limited time, we have sponsored posts for $60. So it doesn't cost a lot. Our banners are $300. So it's
Yeah.
not expensive. It's,
No.
people look at it and be like, oh, it's going to cost a fortune. No, it really doesn't.
Mhm.
$60. But it needs to be tailored to Black families. It needs
Right.
to have a resolution to a problem. So you can't just be like, they're complaining about things without some sort of solution. So that's what we
Mhm.
and we ask that you write at least anywhere from 600 to 2,500 words, and then we'll edit it for you. So if you're not the best writer, it's okay. It's
I
okay.
love that. I love that. That is what so many other publications have done that are successful. And sometimes I get emotional because Jet's not around and that kind of thing. Or so many of my favorite magazines, like Gospel
Okay.
Today, aren't around. I was like, if only they had done such and such, or like, what did they need? I subscribe to it. Like, what else? What else could they do? And they didn't know how to ask. I mean, if they said, well, we want people to do this or whatever, just let us know. So it's a whole thing. The industry, just like the music industry, the book industry, every industry has changed by the internet. Now with the advent of AI, there's going to be a whole lot of other changes as well. So we just have to embrace it, get in the seat, buckle up, and learn it. Like you said, one of the things that you said, Janice, you said before you started the magazine, you took a year and did the research.
Mhm.
And that is one of the things that I want people to understand, that you don't just jump out here and do things, but you actually took the time to study it and to find best practices. And
Right.
those are really, really important as well. So thank
Absolutely.
you so much. Do you have events coming up? Because that's the other part of magazines that are lucrative for
We,
them. Newspapers as well, doing events as well.
oh yeah, we are working on something national that I'll announce probably by the end of the year. We
Okay, well,
just
come
we're
back,
waiting
come
to see how
back.
things are going. But yes, you'll hear more about us, and I hope you guys can attend because we'll be doing it in different spots around the country. And if you can, first it'll be online, and then we're going to start going on tour. So
Good, good. So people should sign up for successfulblackparenting.com, get on the list so they can find out about that,
right.
because
Yep.
Black
Hmm.
Enterprise really does a lot of live events, and those are very successful. And Essence, obviously, Essence Fest,
I
even
love
people who don't read the magazine are going Essence Fest. So
it.
live events with entertainment and celebrity power, that brings people out. And that's where the sponsors, that we call it experiential, uh, advertising, that's where they're going. That's where a lot of the dollars have shifted to experiential. So that is a part of magazines. We kind of did a little bit about that at the press club in DC with Speak Sell Shine. And that was almost like just testing out experiential, taking the magazine from the pages to an event. It's a whole nother energy and a whole nother business model, but it is what people want now. They kind
Right.
of want to meet in person. So that's kind of good. So well, thank you so much. I knew something was probably coming up, but
It
they
is.
can actually sign up and actually get on the website and actually get your emails about the webinars and things like that as well. So
Yeah.
that's good. That's good.
And we're hiring an event person. So if you have that experience and you're interested, it'll be online at first. And then, of course, you'll have to be at the event. So that's
Yeah.
something that we're looking to do as well.
Good, good. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you, Janice, so much, Janice
Thank you,
Celeste,
Dr.
and
Pam.
I will talk with you later. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.
I just love her. So Successful Black Parenting, make sure that you get on the website, get on her email list so that you can just know what is going on. It is really a good publication, and she's doing it from the heart. That's why it's successful, because you can just tell by looking at all the things on the website. And it's just really good to share. So when you do get the emails, forward it to friends so they can sign up as well. So with that, thank you so much for joining us. Talk to you soon.
You've been listening to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast, brought to you by PamPerryPR.com, where you'll get insider tips on how to build your platform, pitch the media, and promote yourself with confidence. Head over to PamPerryPR.com and get the exclusive video training on the 7 must-have marketing materials you need before you pitch in order to be considered in media places or superstar stages. PamPerryPR.com, where you help you shine like a superstar.